SABC News presentation.
Good evening and welcome to Interface. My name is Rems Mabote. I'm standing in for my colleague Tembisa Machele. The Financial Services Board has launched an internal investigation following the resignation of its Chief Financial Officer Dawood Sidat. He resigned following allegations of bribery, which the FSB says are not linked to the organization. The FSB is also setting the record straight regarding the resignation of one of the curators of the financial services company, Fidentia. The Financial Services Board, which regulates financial services, is trying to clean up its image following these developments. If this sounds complicated to you, trust me, it does to many of us too, which is why tonight we have in studio to help us understand this matter FSB CEO Dube Chidi. As usual, do comment on our Facebook page, Interface on SABC3, or tweet at Interface on SABC3. Mr. Chidi, this can't give anybody any confidence about this organization. What is happening? Let's start first, actually. What are the allegations against Mr. Sidat?
Good evening to you, Rems, and the viewers at home. The allegations against Mr. Sidat are tax-related. They're not FSB-related. I think we must get that one clear. Therefore, it is not correct for anybody to think that the FSB is conducting an investigation into the allegations. FSB is not conducting allegations it's not conducting an investigation into the allegations because, as I said, the allegations are tax related.
What are you investigating?
FSB is not investigating. What FSB is doing, we are having the internal auditors of the FSB. We also having the Office of the Auditor General, having a fresh look into all the functions that Mr. Dawood performed when he was at the FSB, of course together with his team, just to make sure that what he did during his time was above board. And I'm saying so because, remember, in any organization, you have auditors every day in the internal auditors every day in the institution. They're doing auditing work quarterly. They give you a report as management, and they also submit the report to your board, which was done. The Auditor General has done the same, submitted quarterly report to the management and to the board. All of them, all those reports, unqualified, above board. But just to make sure that indeed what we got was correct, the auditors are having a fresh look at it. However, if in this second round of having a fresh look at what happened, if the internal auditors or the Office of the Auditor General find something that does not make them feel entirely happy, then the FSB at that point will institute a forensic investigation to unpack whatever the auditors would have found out if they find anything. But at this stage, FSB is not investigating.
You would not do an internal audit if you did not feel this impacts on the image of FSB. So you can't divorce it from FSB, especially because we're talking about somebody at that level of CFO. This is not an ordinary employee.
Yeah, remember, Mr. Sidat was not only a senior employee of the FSB, he also occupied a very senior position of the institution. In a way, if we talk, if you think an institution is equal to government or like a government, you would say he was the Minister of Finance of the FSB. So it's a very important position. So you want to make sure that you clear up any perception of any undoing that people may have in their minds about the functions that he performed.
The allegations are there of tax. Now, they also give us an impression that he did work outside the organization and therefore did not declare tax.
Yeah.
Let's deal with two things now. Do you allow people at that level to moonlight? And that's the word that comes up here.
The FSB policies are very clear. The first part of the policy says no FSB employee can get involved directly or indirectly with any entity that is regulated by the FSB. That's your first point of departure. The second point is that no employee of the FSB may get involved in outside business directly, indirectly, without declaring that he's going to do that.
And we're talking about somebody at that level again. I say to you, could you have picked it up earlier?
Well, we couldn't have picked it up earlier.
Why not?
Because remember, these things are done away from the FSB, right? Although the policy is there, says you declare upfront if you're going to be doing anything. Unfortunately, in this instance, an upfront declaration was not made. The declaration that was made, it was post-fact. After things have happened, it's only when declaration was made.
He then resigns after the declaration is made, and you accept his resignation.
In terms of Labor Relations Act, an employee can resign at any point in time. You can't say you cannot resign.
Can't you say, let's find out first the facts before we let you go?
Well, remember, these allegations are not FSB-related allegations. Therefore, they're not allegations between employer-employee, are allegations that have happened somewhere else. Now, we all coming to the knowledge that there are these allegations happening, whilst we still applying our mind, say, what kind of allegations are these? You get a resignation letter. Can you say, I don't accept your resignation? You can't do it. Labor Relations Act allows people to resign.
You said earlier that Mr. Sidat is probably something equivalent to a Minister of Finance inside your organization. Would you accept, therefore, that whatever you find, or you have not even found at this moment, what this points out to is that there were perhaps not strengths in your vetting processes to make sure that you don't have people like him?
Well, let me say this. When Mr. Daoud was first appointed at the FSB, he had to go through vigorous process of recruitment process, right? And the panel at the time, it was my predecessor, myself, head HR, and an independent person to make sure that the person we are appointing is actually the right person. And I can tell you and state it categorically this evening, in Mr. Daoud, we really employed an employee who was just as good as any employee who has performed his task at the FSB, a well thought out appointment.
We are not done, so let's take a break for now. Please stay with us. Stay tuned to us, because when we come back, I want us to make a link between Mr. Daoud and Fidentia. Welcome back. We continue looking into the FSB and its effort to address its challenges. The Financial Services Board is a unique independent institution established by the statute to oversee the South African non-banking financial services industry in the public interest. CEO Mr. Dube Chidi is our guest. As usual, do comment on our Facebook page, Interface on SABC3, or tweet at Interface on SABC3. On that note, let me read two of Facebook comments that we've received from you. Luzugo Msimanga says, for me, FSB has failed to implement systems to protect the small investor from the anarchy perpetuated by corporates. FICA does not work. There is no single ombudsman for the sector, but bits and pieces of ombudsman everywhere. Nujahan Khan Dalvi writes, that's what happens when courts view crimes involving mismanagement of funds, albeit millions, as less serious compared to those taken by the way of theft or robbery from person, car, work, or home. So you get a nice slap on the wrist with either a fine or suspended sentence. I'll protect you on this one, Mr. Chidi. There has not been any fine, any slap on the wrist at the moment. So I'm hoping that he's not going to come back and say, I told you so. But let's go back to the issue of Mr. Sidat and say, when somebody at the level of Mr. Sidat is pointed, or at least being mentioned in the same sentence as corruption or bribery or tax evasion, for an organization that regulates what you regulate, it tends to send a message that you won't be comfortable with to your clients?
Well, let me start off by giving you a short brief of what FSB is. Look, FSB is a regulatory institution with a mandate given to it by government. And that mandate is captured in 8 pieces of legislation: insurance, pensions, CIS, financial institutions, credit rating agencies, brokers, everyone. That is the kind of mandate the FSB has got. And that is a demonstration of the amount of integrity and credibility that this institution has. On top of that, FSB, zero tolerance on corruption. So for us, whether you are at a lower level, you are at a higher level, if there are allegations of this nature, the FSB will have to take action against that. But for Mr. Sidat, up to now, as we say, action will be taken. The only thing is we are still at allegation level.
Well, it doesn't end with Mr. Sidat, does it? Then there's a Tines or Dines Jiwala, former curator of Fidentia, who's embroiled in legal battle with Liberty Medical Services. Yeah. Now, LMS is claiming 10 million rands for alleged negligence. This is a curator that was appointed by yourselves.
Yeah.
What is the story there?
Well, again, let's put the facts on the table. As far as Mr. Dinesh Jinwala is concerned, who is, of course, one of the curators of the Fidentia matter. Mr. Jinwala, when he was appointed as curator, none of these cases that we're reading about now and the judgment from the court were in existence, right? But even if they were in existence, the process of appointing curators are never finalized on the same day. The court always appoints curators provisionally, meaning the court will say, I appoint Mr. Jinwala provisionally for a period of 3 months and invite the public to say, I'm saying provisional because all of you, anybody who's interested in this matter, even if you don't have interest, if you have any knowledge of unbecoming behavior against Mr. Jinwala, come to court, give me the information so that I don't finalize the appointment. No one went to court to object to that provisional appointment.
Does it make the matter lighter, though, the fact that nobody ever contested it?
Well, look, remember, even in the Fidentia case, the main culprit, Mr. Brown, he should have objected if there were issues. He didn't object. Therefore, the court finalized the appointment. So anybody to say when Jinwala was appointed, didn't the FSB know, whatever? FSB was like all of us. We knew Jinwala as that. Let me now go to the issues of
continue.
The judgment.
Yes.
The matter that Mr. Jinwala is involved in now, it's not a matter, again, that is related to Fidentia. It is issues that he has done away from Fidentia. It is the Grancy matter. In this matter, it went to court twice, right? The first time when this matter appeared to court, it was not to deal with the merits of the matter. The first application was to say, Mr. Court, is there a case here for Mr. Jinwala to answer in a court of law? And the decision at that court number 1, it was yes. There's a prima facie case here. Mr. Jinwala must go to court and answer.
Yes.
At that point,
Here's my question, Mr. Chiri. Here's my question. Mr. Jinwala is appointed by the court.
Yes.
There's 3 months process, nobody questions that. And that's not what I'm questioning. What I'm asking you is a simple question. But the fact that this comes up, even if it's post facto, it's not something that you would be proud of as the guys who appointed him as curator, even though it's through the courts.
Yes.
You can't be proud of it and say, well, you know, you guys had a chance to see him and he was okay.
Yeah.
It can't be a matter that sits well with you.
Correct. So when this matter went to court the first time, FSB proactively contacted Mr. Jinwala and said, what is it that we hear here? Because clearly it's going to be associated with the FSB. He wrote back and said, these are allegations. They must be proved in court. And he gave an undertaking. Should these things be proved to be correct in court, I will be the first one to tell you I am resigning. The matter went to court. It was heard in court. He was found guilty. First thing, the same morning, he resigned.
In your view, what are the likely, or what is the likely impact of this resignation to whatever the outcome of the curatorship of Fidentia is? Because as I see, if I'm an investor there, and the ruling is not in my favor, I may just think that genuine character had to do with this. What are the impacts to you?
Well, investors will think that way, but remember, Joanna was not the only curator of Fidentia. There were two curators. The other one is still there. And the properties that have been taken back from the Arthur Brown and Arthur Brown family are there under the control of the remaining curator. But of course, since the FSB has received this resignation, FSB is going to approach the court to apply for the removal of Mr. Ginwala as a curator, and at the same time, apply for a replacement so that the work of protecting investors of Fidentia continues.
I'm glad you mentioned the fact that Mr. Ginwala was not the only curator. Well, interestingly, Mr. Papadakis, George Papadakis, another curator in this matter, was linked to allegations of corruption against former CEO Dawood Sidat. So that does not help either, that he's also linked to this.
Definitely. But again, I keep on saying all these allegations are going to be looked into by the South African Revenue Services because they all linked there. They're not FSB related, although the people involved are doing work for the FSB. Therefore, in a way, the image of the FSB gets tarnished. But this is why anytime, any moment we find that there's credence in the allegations, the people are kicked out. But sometimes they resign on their own because who knows? Maybe they know more than we don't know.
The resignation does not save the image of the FSB.
No, yeah.
For now, let's take a break again. We come back. We try to conclude this matter. Welcome back. Our guest tonight is the CEO of the Financial Services Board, Mr. Dube Chidi. Remember, you can continue the discussion on our Facebook page, Interface on SABC3, or tweet at Interface on SABC. I had said on SABC3 in the previous segment, it is on SABC. Mr. Chidi, we have to talk about this financial matter because it is not dead yet. Now, the man in the middle of the issue is one famous J. Arthur Brown, who in the latest allegations has come out now to say the chickens have come home to roost. I sit here and I hear that statement, and it seems to be saying to me, this organization that's investigating me, it's not clean itself.
Well, in as far as Mr. Brown is concerned, remember all the issues that were identified by the report of the investigation done by the FSB were taken to court. Cape High Court. Mr. Brown has lost the case there. He was found guilty. He is convicted. Therefore, he is a criminal. There's nothing that will come home to roost except for him to go to Bloemfontein at the appellate division, fight the length of the sentence, and then go and serve his term in jail. There is nothing coming back to roost anyway. He's a convicted criminal, and that's it.
However, if he says to me, I told you that the guys that are investigating me are not the cleanest of them all, and he points out at George Papadakis, he points out at Sidat, I'm likely to believe him, or at least to take him, some benefit of the doubt, give him some benefit of the doubt.
Unfortunately, it may be so when it comes to the, if we look at the allegations and it comes to the individual, unfortunately, he can say that. But remember, his issue is an FSB regulated issue. In as far as that is concerned, he is found guilty. If he was talking about tax, whatever, he could say that. But because here we're talking about FSB regulated issue, the Fidentia is an FSB. He is found guilty in a court of law.
I hear that. Now, okay, let's forget about J. Arthur Brown. The curators may be appointed by judges, but I suppose you recommend to the High Court.
Correct.
How are you going to make sure going forward that we don't sit here again a year down the line, 2 years down the line and say, here's another curator that you guys are recommended to the courts, and we end up with such issues?
Look, we can only continue doing what we're doing. Remember, FSB makes an application to court for an appointment of a curator. We don't tell the court that, please appoint so-and-so. We submit a number of CVs. The judge will look at it.
But you submit those CVs on some strength of something.
Yeah, no, of course, on the strength of skills. And you look at the case that
and cleanliness?
Sorry. Well, you look at the skills of the person, you look at the fit and proper of the person at the time. But because you can never be perfect, and the court can never be also 100% sure that this person is correct, it's fit and proper. This is why the court will say, these are what the FSB wants us to look at. We are a court, we want to look at it, but for safety's sake, we are appointing provisionally, so that should somebody out there know something that the FSB doesn't know, that the court doesn't know, bring it up, so that finally we all appoint somebody who's proper. And without assistance from people who think or who've got information out there about me, about Ramasia, the court can't do more than that. The FSB can't do anything more than that.
Let's conclude with the Fidentia matter. I know that Arthur Brown was fined 150,000 rand. Does that mean the matter is concluded? I mean, just for the benefit of our viewers, the investors, have they lost their money? Is that the end of it? They can't reclaim whatever they had put into Fidentia? Well,
remember there are curators in place. They have taken over a number of properties where the investors' monies were used. So they basically going to have to translate all those things into money form so that at least investors get something out of it.
Is that your first price? Is that what you wish for?
Yes, but it's factual that the curators have got all these properties. Whether investors are going to get 100% of what they put in, it's another matter altogether, right? So the curators are working around the clock, of course, minus Ginwala now. It's Papadakis plus the one we're going to appoint, to make sure that anything that is still out there belonging to the investors is taken back, translated into money, and distributed to the investors.
You know, the significance of this conversation now, especially after the platinum mine strike, is that some of this money that was invested here was invested by the Mine Workers Investment Company. Yeah. And it would impact on offense of miners and children of people in the mines. People may become destitute forever.
Yeah.
And in money that was entrusted in an organization that you would have overseen.
Yeah, correctly. The monies that Mr. Brown misused or misappropriated belonged to the dependents of the mine workers, right? And this has been clear all along, right? And we have made sure that the monies that are collected by the curators from wherever, the first price that had to be done was to make sure that those children benefit. And even though the curatorship is still on, monies are being paid to those children so that they're able to go to school, fees are paid. As I'm talking to you, that process is going on because there's a special trust where the interests of those children are taken care of.
Finally, would you confidently say that you are happy that the FSB is standing on both feet and is doing its job as it's supposed to be doing?
Financial Services Board, it's an institution of integrity, credibility, locally, internationally, and there is nothing that will happen as far as consumers of financial products in the FSB. What happens outside the borders of the FSB done by officials within the FSB, it's a matter that we have to deal with, but that which must be protected by the FSB is protected.
From your mouth to God's ears, Mr. Duvachili, CEO of FSB, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, and to your listeners.
Well, thank you, and that's how we end our program this week. From me, Rems Mabote, and the team, goodbye.